Hello, and welcome to the Huskie Pack Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Don Killingbeck, and I'm joined by a host of principals, Principal Green, Snyder, Gensch, and Chase, along with Director of Curriculum, Lindy Beckman. Today, we're going to be talking about the backstory on our book study, The Anxious Generation. We're talking about the decline of play-based childhood.
Yeah, I think that the societal shift in how we're raising our kids and how kids are developing is very different from all those people seated around this table and beyond. By handing them these devices where they have instant gratification and they can access stuff, at the press of a button, kids aren't really learning things that they need to learn at that time in physical face-to-face interaction through free play. And some of those things might be how to handle their emotions, how to care for themselves, how to care for other people, how to read other people's emotions and body language, how to take turns, solve conflicts, follow rules. um, this modern technology is not allowing kids to develop in the way that they should be.
And I think to kind of piggyback off of that, Josh, one thing that really caught my eye was the idea of a kid being able to grab a phone and in an hour of doom scrolling through Instagram or pick your social media platform, they can hit thousands of data points and come in contact with exactly what society is deeming as cool or popular. And that's a really scary thing because that's supposed to take years and years and years of interaction to to be able to develop that sense of who you are and what's cool and what's not cool.
And the more time that students or children spend on devices, the less time that they're spending in free play. And the impact of that is they're not developing social skills, they're not developing social emotional regulation. And those types of skills, there's nothing in any kind of device that can be replicated. There's no there's no other way besides social interaction that those skills can be developed. So free play is something that we have to have the structures in natural environments for students to be able to in outside of school and in school for kids to be able to play with each other to develop those skills.
You know what I think is interesting about free play? It's where we all learn how to have conflict resolution. And so you think about today in as principals, especially in middle and high school, as the kids come through, you can see that deficit in conflict resolution, particularly because they haven't had that opportunity to play on their own, where they have to work through those issues.
Well, plus in adolescence, Don, we're also figuring out, looking at our models. We're looking at our parents, our grandparents, our people that are around us, and figuring out how do we deal with these situations. And now they're looking at their phone to be able to to learn how to deal with these situations. And a lot of the things that they're looking at on the phone are fictional, and they're not looking at real life situations. And that time that they're trying to figure out who they are in that adolescence time period is the worst time that they should be looking at some of those stories, and the time they should be modeling on their parents and grandparents.
So, kind of like the number one thing is we really need to get kids out and playing on their own. You think about one of the biggest shifts we've seen with athletics. How many people at the table used to play at the park, and you would just go and you'd pick up a game, whether it be basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever it might be, or at recess, just go out and do it. And now kids kind of don't even know how to do that. They look for the adults to provide structured competition. And so we really need to let our kids breathe and get out there and experience that. I'll tell you what, next up, we're going to be doing the great rewiring, the rise of the phone based childhood. So on episode 3, I tell you what, super excited. We're going to be talking more about that.
I think one thing that you just said that took me back to my childhood, Don, was when we think about my favorite thing on the playground was the merry-go-round. how many playgrounds do you go to that there is not a merry-go-round?
Come
That
on, Lord. That is X'd out. That
Yeah.
is, like merry-go-round. Is that safe?
Well, that's the issue though, is when designing places for kids to play, I think we need to shift our mindset to the goal is should be keeping them safe as necessary, maybe not as safe as possible, because it does encourage some of that risk taking. But we as parents, sometimes myself included, have adopted that idea that the author brought up of safetyism and kind of overprotecting our kids because we think we are doing our best to protect them.
What I like what you brought there is what we heard earlier about, hey, we protect kids against real play, but we often neglect to protect kids from the phone, the tablet, the computer. We let them run free there, but rein everything in on the other side.
Feel like this should be a push to bring back lawn darts, Don.
Yes.
Lawn darts. were a
Lawn
blast.
darts. Who needs toes? And folks, that's a wrap for the Husky Pack podcast, The Anxious Generation. Please continue to tune in. Next episode, we're going to be talking about the great rewiring, the rise of the phone-based childhood.
Bring back the lawn darts.
I thought that was
One
priceless.
thing that I think that has been good with some of our podcasts that we do as a unit, I don't feel like we have